What's up, guys? I'm LQ. This is the LQ Review. Thank you so much for joining me here at my YouTube channel. This is where I talk about all the geeky, nerdy stuff that I love to talk about. Movies, video games, comic books, TV shows, and right now I'd like to give my review of the new horror comedy, Freaky. And yes, this movie is very much a take on the Freaky Friday formula. Two people who are at odds with each other switch bodies. So their spirits, their soul, their whatever you want to call it, they switch bodies and they have to experience how the other side lives. We've seen this done in a number of Freaky Friday iterations done by Disney. Most prominently, you had the Hayley Mills version, and then you had the Lindsay Lohan version. And there's been other versions on top of those. But there's been other movies that have played on that Freaky Friday idea. The one that comes to mind for me is Vice Versa with Judge Reinhold and Fred Savage. But again, there's been others. This is a tried and true formula. But it's never been done quite like this. Freaky is about a serial killer played by Vince Vaughn who switches bodies with one of his intended victims, Catherine Newton, who is in the movie, she's supposed to be a teenage girl, I think 17-year-old girl. And how does that play out? Well, it plays out hysterically. So this movie is really funny when it needs to be. And it also does not shy away from being scary when it needs to be. Let me explain. The first part of the movie is a straight-up horror movie. It is very much in the vein of Friday the 13th. In fact, Vince Vaughn's mask that he wears looks like a Jason hockey mask. And the way that he stalks his victims, the way that he's, his body movements, his screen presence, the sheer kind of force that he used when he was dispatching his victims, it reminded me of the Kane Hodder Jason. I gotta believe that they took the Jason movies as inspiration, especially the Kane Hodder era, because it very much reminded me of that. The gore was unexpected. I expected this to be more along the lines of like Happy Death Day to You. The same creative team behind Happy Death Day was behind this, and it was far more gory than the Happy Death Day movies. I mean, this movie earns its R rating just through gore alone. There's blood. There are severe wounds that you see. There's severe body trauma that you see. It's all very gory, and I'm glad that they went that route. Because that helps to kind of juxtapose the comedy that you get in the movie as well. So when you see somebody get dispatched in a horrific way, you're like, whoa. And that was like in the beginning of the movie, it opened up kind of Scream style where some people get taken out by Vince Vaughn's character in the very beginning. And some of the deaths were so brutal that I was like, whoa, I was not expecting this. And then later in the movie, we get the comedy in it like, this is fun. And then we get some more brutal killings. It was really, really effective. It was really effective how they played the comedy to the horror. Vince Vaughn was clearly having a blast playing two different extremes here. So he's playing the serial killer Jason Voorhees-like killer, and he's also playing a girl trapped in a man's body. And when I was watching those scenes, anybody remember the Rob Schneider movie, The Hot Chick, where he trades place with, I think he traded places with Rachel McAdams in that movie. And that, I don't know, I got a soft spot for that movie because I always found it to be really funny. For whatever reason, I don't know, I guess sometimes I like juvenile humor too. This had a lot of shades of that. All right, a female discovering a male's body in a completely different way. But also, something that movie didn't explore that this one did was just the empowerment that she would feel. Like there's a point in the movie where she said, you know, this switch hasn't really been all that bad. I mean, it's not been all bad. You know, I feel really empowered being in this body. And that was an interesting take. It was interesting that they went there to discuss how a female could feel being in a male body. I got no issues with it. I just thought it was a really interesting take. And then on the other side of the coin, so clearly Vince Vaughn was having a blast. On the other end of the coin, you have Katherine Newton, who I've seen her in some of her TV shows. I'm not horribly familiar with her work, but she knocked this out of the park. So she clearly was having a great time playing a sadistic, evil serial killer, and she was also able to make the extremes. All right, in the movie, when the movie started out, she was kind of like this nerdy type person who was very introverted, and then when Vince Vaughn's serial killer enters her body, she becomes very extroverted in the sense that this serial killer is using her sexuality as a way of luring people into her trap or his trap. So you see her go through a introvert to extrovert story arc, but what's funny is that the character, the girl herself, she is going through the same story arc as her body is going through. So her body's going through that story arc because somebody else is inhabiting it. But she's going through that story arc as well, where she goes from introvert to a bit of an extrovert because she is also experiencing life as she had never experienced it before. So it was definitely interesting to make that comparison as well. Guys, Freaky was wonderful. It's one of my favorite movies this year. It's definitely in my top 10 list. It's probably going to end up in my top 10 list. It might be in my top 5 list. Now, to be fair, this year did not have a lot of movies come out in theaters, and a lot of stuff went to streaming. And a lot of the stuff that went to streaming was not the top of the barrel stuff. And this really felt very cinematic and very top of the barrel for me. So it's not the best movie that I've seen so far this year. That title still goes to the Trial of the Chicago 7. But this movie's probably definitely top 5 at this point. I really enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was really funny. It had its scary moments, but it definitely just took the Freaky Friday premise and just did something new and creative with it, and it owned it. So I really liked Freaky. I'm giving it a solid A. What was your take on this movie? I've read some critic reviews on this, and I know that not everybody loved it. I think most people liked it, but not everybody did. So let me know what you thought of this in the comments down below. I would love to have a conversation with you about this movie. Make sure that you subscribe to my channel. And as always, thank you so much for joining me right here at the Oki Review, where we get to talk about all the geeky, nerdy stuff we love to talk about. Until next time, we'll see you later.